everyone, and welcome back to the SaaS community channel where we learn from each other how to build SaaS applications. This video is going to be part of the SaaS-y review series where I look at other people's SaaS applications and get good ideas on how to build my own, and I do it live. So I am kind of exploring their website and their experience and giving live commentary on video. And the website that I've chosen for this week is Vercel. So Vercel is a SaaS application for developers. They are targeting front-end developers, and the idea is that you can run your entire front-end on Vercel. So you use it to ship versions of your front-end application. And it's especially popular because there is an entire area of writing front-end applications without a backend. And this can be just things that are pre-compiled. So if you guys are familiar with Jekyll or Hugo or those things, you kind of write a blog and it is based on JavaScript, but you basically prepare all the pages and the entire blog when you compile it, and then you just deploy it. So in this case, Vercel will just maybe help you compile and build and deploy, essentially. But then, more interesting, there are actually front-end applications that use a SaaS backend. And it can be something like Heroku, where you actually write the backend, but Heroku runs it for you. Or it can be things where you don't write a back-end application in the traditional way. You just take your front end and connect it to a bunch of SaaS applications that provide services. So you connect it to Stripe for payments and to one of those authentication services for authentication, and headless CRM for some of the content, and to one of those headless e-commerce for the stuff you want to sell. So it is possible these days to build just a front end and have an entire company, I guess, just front end engineers, and everything will look great and someone else will do the backend. It's pretty exciting. And Vercel is the place where those front end engineers go to actually deploy their work. And just on kind of transparency, we are using Vercel at my still stealthy company. We don't quite have a front end yet, but although when we will, we probably will do things that way. But we use it for our documentation, and we also use it for kind of a demo site with our UI components, talking to the things that we're building as its backend. So I already like Vercel, but I wanted to look at the experience from a different angle, and I will explain exactly what I mean in a second. So just from the first view, you can see that they're very focused on, okay, start deploying and start with developer, and they have all kinds of examples of coding and all those frameworks. Very, very clearly, they're selling to developers. They're talking about developer experience. They're talking about performance. They're talking about platforms that enables front-end to do best work. Very much a developer language right here. So I don't need to sign up. As I said, I'm already a user, so I'm going to log in. And remember I said that they show how developer obsessed they are. This is one of the places where they don't just talk the talk, they kind of walk the walk. The only way to easily log in is if you are already using some kind of a Git, essentially. You can continue with email, but it is so obvious that they expect each and every one of their potential users to have a Git account somewhere, and almost telling you, hey, if you don't even know what this means, this is not for you. If you're in marketing, there's probably other places. Go talk to Squarespace or Wix or Shopify. They will make stuff easy for non-developers. This is for developers. So I'm connected with my GitHub. Come on, GitHub. please work. It is working. And yeah, let's pretend that I don't have projects yet. My projects are hiding in a theme folder. And let's say that I want to start from a template. And this is one of the nice things, like if you don't want to start with a blank page, having a large list of templates is very reassuring. And it's so long that probably everyone can find their favorite technologies there. If you're front end, a lot more of those are probably recognizable. I'm using Docusaurus for documentation, so I know that. Blog Starter Kit may be appealing if I'm just wanting to, if I just show up here and I want to do a small blog. But yeah, let's start with Docusaurus. Let's do a documentation, open source documentation website. What can possibly go wrong? So it kind of says, okay, create a Git repository. That's why I signed up with Git, and it gives me a repository name. Should we keep their name? Let's call it something like SaaS review, SaaS-y review. And yeah, let's make it public. What the hell? Let's build it. And you can see that this is really aiming that you will have a good time with this. One of the ways you can see it is that it doesn't make you go anywhere else. It doesn't say, okay, do git clone, go to Git. Once I connected it to Git, which I admit I have done in the past, it basically just works. It does the cloning for me. And it's basically, I didn't even have to tell it to deploy. It just started, right? So this is pretty cool. And it tells me what it's doing. It also shows me an example, which is kind of nice. So I can see what will, this is their website, it's a template, but it shows me what I will get the moment it finishes deploying. And there is a timer. I'm wondering how long it's going to take. Oh, 34 seconds, and we're good. Nice. And confetti. Confetti is incredibly important for the right developer experience. I will never stop loving those small touches. So what do I do next? It tells me to go to the dashboard, and then it's, in order to actually do something, I need to run it locally. So let's start by go to the dashboard. And yeah, I basically have a production deployment. It has a deployment identifier. So if I want to see that specific deployment, or I now have a production website. What about that? I have SaaS-y reviews website. So cool for me. And okay, so I did this part. Can I go back? Yes, I can go back. So really what I want is to try to develop and see what happens when I ship a new version, right? So it says run this version locally. That's, I guess I'm going to have to git clone it, right? So I'm going to my Git, my repos. No one has a shortcut on how to get to repos. Okay, and I see it here, SaaS-y reviews, top here. And the README even tells me, hey, this is a brief example, 0 configuration, deploy on your own, live example, how we created this example. To get started, you can use the Docusaurus CLI to initialize the project. So it doesn't actually tell me to do what this part told me to do, which is just to run Docusaurus start. So since I already have a project, I don't know if I should create my own. So let me go and clone this and see if the hint in the nice confetti page will get me anywhere. So SaaS-y review, and what exactly did it tell me to do? Run Docusaurus start. So I'm going there and running Docusaurus start, and this does not work. So this is a bit disappointing. I was super hopeful. It looked like I can just get started with that, but I think the README is correct. So this is just an example, but in order to do my own project, and then basically it says deploy your own, and then it also says to get started with Docusaurus, you can use the CLI. So let's check what happens if I actually click on deploy my own. Yeah, and here it expects me to actually have my own repository. So I am going to basically do a new one. So this is to initialize a whole new project. So I'm not really going to use the SaaS-y review repository. In which case, I don't know, Vercel, it feels a bit of a letdown. Like you created this nice repository for me, I gave it a nice name, and I don't know that I can actually do anything with it. What is the right command that will allow me to start editing the repository you gave me and get started there? Like you got me all the way to a demo, and then it's like, okay, now you're starting from scratch versus all the way to a demo, and here's how you continue. But let's continue following the instructions. So I was told to do npx Docusaurus init. This is not great. I have no idea what to do with that. In which case I will just go to the Docusaurus documentation and get started there. Because I already use Docusaurus, I know that their documentation works. So I'm going to do that. How are those two different? Oh, this one has, let's see, npx create Docusaurus. Oh, they're very different. Okay, I guess I will. I think the main difference is Docusaurus latest versus Docusaurus init next, but I'm not an npx or JavaScript expert, so I will never know. Okay, this one is installing. Anyway, I like how everyone is kind of doing community building these days. If you like Docusaurus, give it a star on GitHub, follow us on Twitter. This is also very developer marketing. Like, give us a star on GitHub is kind of the classic, right? Okay, so to get started, I go to CD website and do npm start. You see, some people's how to get started seems to work. Did it work? Oh, it even have a nice bar. So 46%, 88%, and successfully I have a website. Okay, so 100 out of 100 for Docusaurus. I managed to get started with Docusaurus. I feel like Vercel advice, they already let me down twice. Basically, I had to create a new repository and then I had to go to look at Docusaurus instructions. It just feels like they created a template and forgot about it, and nobody ever tested it again when they had additional releases, which is, by the way, the most common problem with quick start guides in the world. Like Confluent had a team that basically we had automated tests for all the quick start guides, and maybe Vercel does too, but apparently they finish testing when you successfully deployed the example. They don't test what happens with the rest of the instructions on how to continue from there. But again, like, those things are an incredibly common problem, and it's clear that Vercel did a really good job on getting you to an example and showing you how easy it could be. So they do get a lot of points. A lot of companies don't get to that. I feel like we discussed it on the channel in so many videos, how hard it is to have really perfect first 5 minutes experience, and Vercel did get the first 5 minutes right. It was minute 6 and 7 that was a bit more confusing. So meanwhile, I have Docusaurus. What do I want to do with it now? I think I want to edit it a bit. So when I deploy it to Vercel, you will be able to see that it's different, and it's not their demo, it's mine. So I'm going to workspaces, website, and yeah, let's edit the intro. Again, it looks like I know where things are, and this is because I've used it before quite a lot. So tutorial intro, let's make it Gwen's cool video. I don't need to do anything fancy here. And the cool thing, oh, you couldn't see it auto update, so you just see it here. So I didn't have to restart anything for it to update, but it's a bit cooler if if you see it live. So let's see if I can make it update live. Let's look at this line up here and see it updating. See, I just saved it and it's already there. This is the reason people like, you know, front-end development, is that the online experience, like I edit something and the live website on my computer edits in the background. Like, it's just such a great developer experience. Anyway, let's push this to GitHub and see how Vercel deploys it. So first of all, I don't think I did the Git init, so this part is important. And then I want to go back here. Hey, SaaS-y review, I don't need you anymore. It was an incredibly short relationship. And I do a new one. And the repository name will be I'm not very creative right now, and I don't need anything here. Now, GitHub are good at the second minutes of customer experience. Here's a quick startup if you know how to get started quickly, or here's how to create a repository in the command line, or if you already have an existing repository command line, because it used to be that I didn't have it in the past. And then every time I had to find out, like, remember the exact commands, remote, add, all those. This one is super easy. Using main as the main branch rather than more outdated terms is a nice touch. So I'm going back here, and I think I just have to basically paste their stuff. No, it did not work. Maybe do the commands one by one, just to always better to figure out which one of them failed. Okay, remote already exists. Did the main branch exist? Oh, it didn't have a master branch at all. What do I have at branches? Don't have any branch? It must be on some branch. Okay, I'm branch master. And you know what, let's leave it that way. I don't like the term, but we can survive that. Just a quick demo. And what was the next thing? It's a git push. Don't I have to? Oh, maybe that was my mistake. Git add dot. I basically want to add anything. Git commit -m first commit. Okay, I have all those, and maybe now the rebranching will work. Yes. Okay, so it expected me to have already committed. Which makes sense, I guess. I don't know, but whatever. We figured this out. But yeah, it was slightly less good than I expected. Those easy things are kind of double-edged swords, right? If you match exactly the right expectations, they work. If you don't, then you're on your own, kind of thing. Anyway, pushing it up. Let's go see the code. I have it, and now it's time to do it in Vercel. So already figured out that I need a new project. So I'm going up here, and now I'm doing new project. And I don't want a template. Now I know what the templates give me, and it just shows me this one. I am doing this, SaaS-y review, Docozarus. I think everything looks good. So let's click deploy. And if it all works, then no matter how many detours we took, user experience was successful because we managed to get our job done, and we have a documentation site. And I think we're running at around 20 minutes for the review, so it's not bad at all. From our experience, this takes 40 seconds. Okay, and it finished, and I have more confetti. And this time I can kind of ignore those instructions because I know they don't work. I actually ran npm start or something like that. And I have SaaS-y review 2. I go to the website, and remember the test is whether it managed to have my changes in it. And yes, it indeed has my changes in it. And it tells me that if I do more changes, it will automatically deploy. So maybe we should try that. And Git is kind of nice, right? It will let me edit pages here. So I can actually go and say, you can see that it has some markdown customizations. That's the Dokuzaur thing. And edit from GitHub. Will this deploy to Vercel? And this does not matter a lot. And I could actually do either. So if I push a commit to the main branch, it should update the main site. If I do a new branch, it will start a new deployment, and I will have 2 of them. Let's do this one. Let's commit to the main one. YOLO! So, did it detect that I have something new? Yes, it says building just now, upcoming test. If I click here, it says basically this is, so it's on the main branch, but it shows a new commit. It has a domain for that specific new build. It was much faster this time. The power of caching. So we're down from a minute to about 18 seconds. And it's the main website because we deployed it to production. So if we go to, actually, why start a new one when you can actually check that your production updated? Yep, and here's our new edit. So as far as rapid iteration on a website goes, it is extremely hard to beat this experience. So, hey, if you haven't heard about Vercel before and you need a place to deploy your documentation or your blog, or you're a front-end engineer needing a place to deploy a front-end, whether or not you have your own backend or you're using someone else's backend, Vercel is really good for that. But I think it goes better if you basically create a project on your own. Like, you can use the list of templates. The way I would use it would basically be to get a list of technologies. So I would click new project and I would browse all templates just to know, hey, is my pet technology supported? Do they support Jekyll? Yes, they do. Do they support Hugo? Yes, they do. So once I know that my technology is supported, I would probably use it as normal, as in build it, develop it locally, using the documentation from the project itself. And when it's time to deploy it, I would basically tell Vercel, hey, here is my Git repo, go edit. And turns out that it is incredibly good at being pointed to a Git repo and go and get it. This is exactly how we used it when we started iterating on our both the Vercel site that my Steels company has. So that would be my recommendation. I think the templates are meant to be used as an idea and as an announcement that these things are supported very conveniently. You can see we support all your favorite frameworks without additional configuration. And this is the right way to view those, not as click here and you will have, we will walk you through building something. The understanding is, and they said it right in the beginning, they expect me to have GitHub, they expect me to already be a developer, already have my repositories, and already know how to write code. The part that they solve is really the deploying, previewing, shipping kind of scenarios. So I cannot claim to that they are not very consistent in messaging, but templates can be used in different ways, and I was a bit misled. Overall, I wish most SaaS would be as consistent in here is how you use them and allow me to do fairly cool things, basically an entire deployment of an application in just a few minutes. So I hope you learned something about how to create your own user experience and how people who get started with a new technology, especially developers, kind of think about those problems and how the first 5 minutes matter so much, and then how you guide people into minutes 6 and 7 allows them to complete a good experience. So thank you. If you like this content, like and subscribe, and I'll see you all next week.